How Ukraine destroyed the myth of Russia's invincibility. The notion of Russia's military as an unstoppable juggernaut has long permeated global discourse, rooted in selective historical narratives, Cold War propaganda, and the Kremlin's own myth-making. From the Soviet Union's victory in World War II, often portrayed as a testament to unbreakable Russian resolve, to modern displays of military parades on Red Square, Russia cultivated an image of invincibility. This myth suggested that any confrontation with Moscow would end in swift defeat for adversaries, deterring challenges and bolstering its geopolitical leverage. However, the full-scale invasion of Ukraine launched on February 24, 2022, exposed this illusion as a house of cards. Over 3.5 years, Ukraine, a nation with a fraction of Russia's resources, has not only withstood the onslaught but inflicted humiliating defeats, revealing systemic rot in the Russian military machine. By August 2025, with ongoing Ukrainian counterstrikes deep into Russian territory, the myth lies in ruins, reshaping global security perceptions and emboldening democracies worldwide. The myth of Russian military supremacy is not new, it draws from a curated version of history that emphasizes triumphs while glossing over defeats. The Kremlin often invokes the Great Patriotic War, Soviet name for World War II, as proof of eternal resilience, portraying the Soviet victory over Nazi Germany as a divine mandate for Russian dominance. Yet, this narrative ignores the staggering human cost, over 27 million Soviet deaths, and the role of Allied aid, including Lend-Lease supplies from the West. In reality, Russia's military history is peppered with failures that foreshadowed the Ukraine debacle. The Crimean War, 1853 to 1856, ended in Russian defeat against a coalition including Britain and France. The Russian-Japanese War, 1904 to 1905, saw Russia humiliated by an emerging Asian power. World War I, 1914 to 1918, led to the collapse of the Tsarist regime amid massive losses. The Soviet-Afghan War, 1979 to 1989, drained resources and ended in withdrawal, mirroring Vietnam for the US. Even the Cold War, 1945 to 1991, culminated in Soviet dissolution. These setbacks highlight a pattern: overextension, logistical failures, and underestimation of resolve in adversaries. Post-Cold War, Putin rebuilt the myth through interventions in Georgia, 2008, Crimea, 2014, and Syria, 2015, where limited operation succeeded against weaker foes. By 2022, Russia's military was touted as the world's second strongest, with advanced hypersonic missiles, vast tank fleets, and a nuclear arsenal deterring direct confrontation. Analysts predicted a quick Ukrainian capitulation, perhaps in days. Instead, the invasion became a quagmire, exposing fragility of the myth. Russia's so-called special military operation began with overwhelming advantages: a 190,000-troop force, superior air power, and proximity to supply lines. Putin aimed for a decapitation strike on Kiev, expecting minimal resistance from a brotherlier nation. Yet, Ukrainian forces, bolstered by pre-war reforms under General Stepan Poltorak, 2014 to 2019, which aligned the army with NATO standards via US assistance, mounted fierce defenses. In the Battle of Kiev, Russian convoys stalled due to poor logistics, mud, and ambushes. By April 2022, Russia retreated, abandoning equipment and suffering heavy losses. The myth cracked further in the Kharkiv counteroffensive, September 2022, where Ukraine reclaimed over 12,000 square kilometers, surprising Russian commanders and severing supply lines at Lyman. Kherson's liberation in November 2022 forced another humiliating withdrawal across the Dnipro River. These events debunked Russia's vaunted weaponry. Over 2,125 precision missiles fired by May 2022 yielded minimal strategic gains. Ukraine's use of Western-supplied Javelins and NLAWs neutralized Russian tanks, turning the Second Army in the world into the Second Army in Ukraine. Key 2022 events shattering the myth. Battle of Kiev, February-March 2022, Russian advance halted, retreat with abandoned gear. Exposed logistical incompetence, myth of swift victory crumbled. Kharkiv counteroffensive, September 2022, Ukraine recaptures more than 12,000 square kilometers of its territory. This demonstrated Russian vulnerability to surprise attacks. Kherson liberation, November 2022, Russia withdraws from west bank of Dnipro River. This highlighted inability to hold gains, boosted Ukrainian brave spirit. As the war dragged on, Ukraine's asymmetric warfare further eroded Russian prestige. With no navy, Ukraine sank much of the Black Sea Fleet using drones and missiles, including the flagship Moscow in April 2022. By 2024, strikes on Sevastopol forced relocations, gutting Russia's naval projection. The 2023 Zaporizhzhia counteroffensive stalled due to mined fields, but Ukraine adapted. Drone swarms decimated Russian armor, more than 9,000 tanks destroyed by late 2024, forcing reliance on Soviet-era relics like T-62s. The Kursk incursion in August 2024 marked a turning point. Ukrainian forces seized Russian territory for the first time since World War II, shattering the illusion of secure borders. This exploded the myth that Russia is an invincible country. Russia's human wave tactics, evoking World War I horrors, yielded Pyrrhic gains amid massive casualties, over 383,000 by December 2023, ballooning to more than 1 million by summer 2025. Dependence on Iranian drones and North Korean troops underscored desperation. Ukraine's success stems from ingenuity and alliances. Drones revolutionized warfare. Cheap, agile units like FPVs targeted tanks and ships, outpacing Russia's adaptations. By 2025, Ukraine led in drone production, striking Moscow's air defenses and exposing S-400 vulnerabilities. Western aid, $300 billion in weapons by 2025, provided game changers. HIMARS, ATACMS, and French AESM bombs enabled deep strikes. Real-time US intelligence proved crucial. A brief cutoff in 2025 allowed a Russian advance, highlighting its importance. Reforms post-2014 transformed Ukraine's military from a corrupt relic to a NATO-compatible force, emphasizing valor and adaptability over brute force. Beneath the myth lies decay. Corruption siphoned funds, leaving troops with outdated gear. Rusty 1960s tanks and civilian GPS. Economic sanctions crippled production. By 2025, Russia's defense budget strained under war costs. Domestic fragility emerged. Prigozhin's 2023 mutiny exposed elite fractures. High casualties, 60,000 in July 2025 alone, fueled draft evasion and desertions. From a Russian perspective, outlets like RT, Russia Today, Kremlin-controlled TV network for abroad, emphasize Ukrainian losses and Western expertise failures, but acknowledge no occupation plans, implicit admissions of overreach. The war exposed Russia's weaknesses, damaging its world-class reputation. NATO expanded with Finland and Sweden, allies ramped up aid. Globally, it challenged autocracies, China's Taiwan ambitions tempered, Iran's drone exports scrutinized. In July 2025, Russia captured 105 square miles, but at unsustainable costs, predicting reconstitution challenges post-war. By mid-2025, Ukraine's Operation Spiderweb destroyed a third of Russia's nuclear bomber fleet, disabling 41 aircraft in deep strikes. Drone attacks on Russian cities injured civilians, sowing panic. Expert assessments highlight Ukrainian resilience degrading Russian offenses, forcing UAV adaptations. Ukraine has not sought Russia's destruction but its aggression's end. By 2025, the invincibility myth is obliterated. Russia's army, once feared, is revealed as corrupt and brittle. This war proves that resolve, innovation and alliances trump brute force. As Ukraine pushes back, it inspires. Autocrats are not invincible, and freedom fights on.